Tee Grizzley's aunt got, I think it was a couple of years ago, and a lot of people were like wondering what this was all about. They were saying the gang war must be so serious in, I think it's, was it Detroit that he's from?
Yeah.
That his auntie's getting. Now there's a bunch of, I think it's misinformation, but there's a bunch of rumors going around where people are saying like, oh, Tee Grizzley arranged for this to happen, or Tee Grizzley is close with people from 600, so he must have made it happen.
Detroit's East Side still remembers August 20th, 2019, when 8 left Jobina J.B. Brown bleeding out in the back seat of a black Chrysler 300. Today, fresh footage has surfaced showing exactly how an OTF member carried out the execution, and we can't stop asking if Tee Grizzley was the one who gave the green light. The same nephew who owed everything to his auntie allegedly turned into her biggest threat. And now, with new evidence painting a picture nobody wanted to see, the whole drill gang is watching to see if one of Detroit's biggest stars really backdoored his own blood. This is the story of how an OTF member Tee Grizzley's auntie on his order, caught on camera. Multiple angles showing a blue Nissan Altima posted outside a residential block on Detroit's east side with the engine running and the windows down. What the internet has been seeing ain't just regular street surveillance footage. The clips making rounds show Wu, an affiliate of Chicago's 600 crew, standing trial in Detroit on multiple charges, including first-degree premeditated murder for JB's. But the real shock comes from what folks are saying behind the scenes, that this wasn't a random hit from Chicago ops. Word traveling through the trenches is that Tee Grizzley himself orchestrated the whole play. The footage breakdown shows Wu-Thang posted up in that blue Nissan for almost 2 hours before T and JB even pulled up to the spot just in front of Grizzley's cousin's place. No random op sits in enemy territory that long without concrete intel. Someone had to give him the exact location, the exact time, and the exact car to watch for. Police say were fired into a black Chrysler with only 2 people inside, T's driver and his aunt JB. She was instantly. But what got people really talking is how surgical the hit was. The didn't spray wildly or empty clips randomly. He opened T's exact door, the same door T had just stepped out of, and laid JB down with precision to her side and arm. The timing makes it even more suspicious. T claims he decided at the last minute to stop by his cousin's house to cool off, but somehow Wu-Thang was already there waiting. Phone records show the hitter's device pinging from that exact address for nearly 2 hours before the Either this Chicago affiliate got the most accurate street network in history, or somebody from inside the circle gave him the drop.
Pulled up. Okay. So now I'm mad now. Like, y'all heard them y'all leave me over here.
Right.
You feel me? You could at least call me and told me, like, it's too much going on over here. Come on, we gone. You know what I'm saying? That my driver ended up calling me, like, and told me what happened. So basically what happened, they walked up to my door and opened my door. You know what I'm saying? Some niggas opened my door trying to get at me. Ended up hitting her up.
Where did they hit her on the body?
They hit her on, like, on her side and in her arm. She didn't get hit in her head or her face, and then just all on her side. You feel me?
How many
on
times?
The side where her heart at.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, on the side like where her heart at too. So that shit was fucked up. She got shot like that before a long time ago with my uncle.
Okay.
His car got and she got hit in the exact same place, but she lived. You know what I'm saying? Because
street bloggers have been saying T set up the whole play because JB was holding his masters hostage and threatening to expose some real personal business between them. The rumor mill churned out stories about JB being pregnant with T's baby, and how that pregnancy was about to destroy his whole career if it came to light. So instead of letting his secrets leak, he allegedly reached out to his Chicago connections to handle the situation permanently. What makes it even more wild is how calm T has been acting since the arrest dropped. Oddly, Tee Grizzley has never really addressed the publicly, and even once claimed he wasn't in the car at the moment of the The report says he was. His own story doesn't even match what the police documented. He's been switching up his narrative, claiming he wasn't there when it happened, then later admitting he was right outside the door when the rang off.
I want to sit on their furniture and all that stuff in there. I'm like, all right, I'll be right back. So I'm knocking on the door. My people's taking so long to come to the door. You know what I'm saying? And they finally come to the door. As soon as I see her, as soon as I see my auntie, she about to open the door. I hear a whole bunch of shots going off. You know what I'm saying? Behind me, I hear a whole bunch of going off. So I get down because I'm thinking they about to come to the side and start, you know what I'm saying, shooting at me, and I ain't got nothing on me at the time. My cousin ran out with a gun. I'm like, perfect. So we ran out on the street. When we ran out, my driver was gone with no cars out there. I'm like,
She was in the. So what was the vehicle? She was in the car. Like
she was in the car.
Okay.
She was in the car. on the street. So my cousin ran out with the gun or whatever, and we ran out in the front to see what's going on, and to, if somebody up on us, we gonna get them off us. So once we got outside, once we got in the front where they was at, my driver gone.
The streets are buzzing because secrets that were about to come to light. The footage circulating ain't just showing them, it's showing what happens when family loyalty gets tested by fame, fortune, and forbidden relationships. What really got people shook is how the knew exactly which side of the car T usually sat on, knew exactly when JB would be alone and vulnerable, and knew exactly how much time he had before cops showed up. That level of inside information doesn't come from street intelligence. It comes from someone who was there, someone who knew the routine, someone who JB trusted enough to stay in the car while they handled business. Damage control. When accusations started flying about T ordering the hit on his own family, his response was kinda off. Instead of coming with fire and fury like most rappers do when their name gets dragged through the mud, he moved differently. Real different. His first public statement came through a simple Instagram post. No long explanations, no heated denials, just a short video of JB smiling with the caption, "Since I was 12, we've been going everywhere together. How you gon' go to heaven without me?" I deck what to say, JB. I just wanted to show the world you smile, I love you so much. That was it. No anger about accusations, no promises to find the real, no street justice threats, just grief and silence. And just so you know, he later deleted the post. When pressed for details during interviews, T's responses stayed vague and sometimes contradictory. He said he has no idea who was responsible for the stating everybody was a suspect. He also said that he had considered taking revenge, but ultimately decided to let the police handle it. But OGs who know street code know that ain't how it works. When your family gets touched, especially your day one supporter who had your back since childhood, you don't just let the police handle it. You get active or you get labeled soft. What made people really suspicious was how T kept switching his story. First, he claimed he was in the car when it happened. Then when police reports came out showing he wasn't definitely there, he changed it to being right outside the vehicle. Oddly, Tee Grizzley has never really addressed the publicly. The internet detectives started picking apart every inconsistency. Why would JB refuse to go inside a family member's house because it might be dirty, but be perfectly comfortable sitting in a car on a dangerous Detroit block at night? Why didn't T insist she come with him if he knew the area was that risky? And most importantly, why was he so calm about everything when most rappers would be moving heaven and earth to find their families? But the streets know T had real enemies beyond just internet rumors. A few days ago, the original No Effort song leaked where Grizzly says a line, "Let Lil Durk's music hype you up and end up like JoJo." Of course, those sensitive Chicago niggas banned him from the city. Early in his career, T had been dissing dead Chicago legends and making enemies across state lines. His original version of No Effort contained the bar about ending up like JoJo, which got him in serious hot water with Chicago sets who had zero tolerance for out-of-town rappers speaking on their fallen soldiers. That created real tension between Detroit and Chicago camps, the kind that could escalate to violence. Before his scheduled appearance, it seems as if some Chiracians were not feeling the Grizz. Show promoters in Chicago actually canceled his performances due to legitimate safety concerns. These weren't empty threats from internet trolls. These were organized sets with real who took disrespect personally. Yet somehow, despite all that legitimate beef with Chicago gangs, T managed to make peace and even formed close relationships with OTF members like Booka 600 and eventually Lil Durk himself. What's wild is the connection between Grizzly and Chicago's 600 camp. That peace treaty looks suspicious in hindsight. How did T go from being banned from Chicago for dissing their dead homies to collaborating on joint mixtapes with the same camps that wanted his head? Some people say Booka was the bridge that made that peace possible. Others whisper that maybe the peace came with conditions, that T had to prove his loyalty by providing something valuable in return, or someone. The timeline adds fuel to these theories. JB got August 2019, but T's relationship with Chicago camps had been solidifying for 2 years before that. He dropped Bloodus with Lil Durk in December 2017, and by 2019, he was moving freely between Detroit and Chicago like the old beef never existed. Either T was exceptionally good at making peace with dangerous enemies, or he offered them something they couldn't refuse: blood money. The woman everyone knew as JB wasn't just Tee Grizzley's auntie. She was his lifeline, his bankroll, and possibly way more than family should ever be. To understand why someone would want JB dead, you gotta understand exactly what she meant to T's empire and what kind of secrets she might have been carrying. To start with, A no-jumper interview had to deal with whether or not JB was really Tee's aunt. JB has been in Tee Grizzley's life since he was about 11 or 12 years old. Tee had known JB, who was married to his uncle by blood, since he was 11 or 12. But here's where things get real twisted. JB wasn't blood. She was his uncle's wife, not his biological aunt. Just a woman who married into the family and somehow became the most important person in his life. When someone quits their career to manage your business full-time, they're not doing it out of family love. They're doing it because they got a piece of the pie. JB wasn't just managing Tee's day-to-day operations. She was controlling his money, his contracts, his masters, and his whole career trajectory. But the rumors circulating through the streets paint an even more disturbing picture of their relationship. Internet sleuths have been putting together pieces that suggest JB and Tee's connection went way deeper than manager-client or even family bonds. The pregnancy rumors first surfaced on social media, with users claiming that JB confided in someone about carrying Tee's baby and refusing to get an abortion. The allegations got so widespread that they allegedly came up during the trial proceedings. People close to the case were whispering that JB had told someone she was pregnant with Tee's child, and that the baby was going to be a problem for his career and his relationship status. If that was true, then JB wasn't just holding his business hostage. She was carrying evidence of a relationship that could have destroyed everything he built. Flanco from No Jumper, among others, even discussed about Tee being the main man behind JB's because of the pregnancy.
It was discovered that Wu Thang from 600 is currently on trial for the Tee Grizzley aunt. Now, Wu Thang is close friends with Buka 600, who's Tee Grizzley's close friend and groomsman in Tee's wedding. Now, Tee Grizzley's aunt got, I think it was a couple of years ago, and a lot of people were like wondering what this was all about. They were saying the gang war must be so serious in, I think it's, was it Detroit that he's from?
Yeah.
That his auntie's getting. Now, there's a bunch of, I think it's misinformation, but there's a bunch of rumors going around where people are saying like, oh, Tee Grizzley arranged for this to happen, or Tee Grizzley is close with people from 600, so he must have made it happen. Now, I'm not sure I believe that. I'm speculating that it could end up being a situation where, like, you know, one of his ops from Detroit has paid a gang from someone from a gang in Chicago to do something. But yeah, Tee Grizzley's basically been responding to these rumors. A lot of people are saying that he was involved, and I think he's just basically saying it's just some dumb internet shit. And yeah, it's a real situation. So is that clip there, Josh? I think that might be Tee Grizzley responding.
So think of the timeline and the weight behind it. Tee touched down in 2016, hungry to stamp his name in the game. JB steps in as his lifeline, playing the sugar mama role while the whole fam turns their backs. She drops her job, goes all in managing him, betting the house on Tee when no one else would put up a cent. They run it up for years. Flights, studios, blueprinting the empire. Then whispers start bubbling that their bond crossed lines that should not be crossed. Tee always moved weird when he spoke to JB. The energy was off, too close, too locked in. He spoke to her like she was his rider, not just family through a jailed uncle. Said they moved as one. She was the only one he ever trusted, that they loved each other past life itself. That ain't regular fam talk, especially not when the bloodline link is through marriage and her man is still doing time. It was JB's first time managing, but she stepped like she knew the ropes. She learned as she moved, flipping trial and error into motion. But when someone builds your whole wave from scratch while holding your funds, they end up knowing everything, where all the plays were made, where the cleanups happened, where the secrets lay, literal and not. If the pregnancy whispers got legs, then JB was more than a shaky business move. She was a ticking headline ready to nuke everything. A married aunt carrying her nephew's kid. That type of story does not get contained. That ends legacies. Labels would have hit eject. Radio would have blackballed him. The whole structure would collapse under the weight. But instead of letting it all unfold, somebody made a call, decided the loose end had to go. And the way the hit got handled, no mess, no extra bodies, just JB gone and TEE untouched. This was not about ops or rap politics. This was surgical, personal. This was about clearing a threat that knew too much and warned too many times more. The Grim Reaper. Past all the speculation and street rumors, Tee Grizzley's story reads like a playbook for how fame and family don't mix when survival instincts take over. Born in 1994, Tee came up in Detroit's Warrendale neighborhood, the kind of place where making it out usually means stepping over bodies, including your own people. Tee was raised by his grandmother near the intersection of Joy Road and Southfield Freeway in the Warrendale neighborhood due to his mother and father constantly being in and out of prison. In 2011, his mother was sentenced to 20 years in prison for drug trafficking and released in late 2020. Rumors have it that his father was 2012. By the time Tee reached his teens, he was an orphan in everything but name, surrounded by violence, poverty, and a family tree full of criminal records. But what made Tee different from most street cats was his intelligence and ambition. He was the first member of his family to attend college in generations. He attended Michigan State University to study finance and accounting. This wasn't some community college hustle. MSU is a legitimate institution, and finance is a serious major. Tee had the brains to make it legitimately, but the streets don't let go that easy. He and a friend began to burglarize other students' dormitories and stole $20,000 worth of electronics and money from other students in February 2014. On February 27th, he and a friend were caught but released pending investigation. He went on the run and fled to Kentucky, where on July 1st, 2014, he was one of 3 people arrested following an attempted robbery at a jewelry store in Lexington, Kentucky. The pattern shows Tee's mindset from early on. When legal paths got difficult, he defaulted to taking what he wanted by force. He was sentenced to 9 months for the robbery, and while already serving that sentence, he was sentenced to 15 months but served 18 months for the Michigan State robberies in September 2015. That's a serious time for a college kid, but it's also where Tee got his real education. Prison changed him from Terry Wallace into Tee Grizzley, but more than just a name change, prison gave him the time and motivation to perfect his craft. While he was incarcerated, he wrote the lyrics to My Moment, featuring the diaristic tale First Day Out, released a month after his release in October 2016. When Tee got out in October 2016, he wasn't the same broke college kid who went in. He had a plan, skills, and most importantly, connections that went way beyond Detroit. The Chicago link-up wasn't accidental, it was strategic. By 2017, he was collaborating with Lil Durk on Bloodess, which meant he had tapped into the OTF network at the highest levels. His ability to navigate between Detroit and Chicago crews while maintaining respect in both territories showed some real street smarts that most drill rappers never develop. Tee understood that beefs between cities were bad for the bag, so he positioned himself as a bridge instead of picking sides. That positioning gave him access to resources, protection, and opportunities that staying loyal to just Detroit would have never provided. The timing of his rise also coincided with drill music going mainstream. Chicago drill was running the conversation, and Tee's Detroit sound offered something fresh while staying true to the same energy. His collaborations with OTF members weren't just musical. They were political alliances that opened doors and provided security across state lines. But those same connections that elevated his career also gave him access to resources for handling problems. When you're tight with crews that have steppers on payroll and networks that stretch from Detroit to Chicago to Atlanta, certain solutions become available that regular people can't access. The kind of solutions that can make inconvenient problems disappear permanently, just like JB. His relationship with Booker 600 became particularly important because Booker was the bridge between Tee and the broader OTF 600 network. Grizzly and Booker 600 go back years. Besides, it was real clear that Booker had connections to the alleged JB, meaning he could have been the one who gave Tee the link to help bodying his aunt. That relationship wasn't just friendship. It was a strategic alliance that gave Tee legitimacy in Chicago while giving Booker a Detroit connection. Of how someone goes from writing bars in the joint to orchestrating hits on their own blood. The same connections that made his career possible also made JB's feasible. And the same coldness that helped him survive prison and the streets made the decision to occur just another business calculation. It all makes one thing clear. JB trusted the wrong person, and that trust cost her everything. If you like this video, click one of the windows on either side to watch a video similar to this one.